Well, he said, gotta protect the dreamers, you know? I said, what exactly is a dreamer? Well, it's more than a movie. It's more than a way of life. And it's more than adventure. You know, first they hear the word dream and they think of a concept. But they don't expand upon that language or the words, you know, because they don't understand all those words. And you're like, how can they understand a dreamer? You know, the mode and practice, you know, of the core of ethics, you know, a mode to a procedure, you know. Hey, what mode you got that game in? Is it on turbo or is it on slow, you know? Is it on intermediate or expert or beginner, you know? Did they just begin to understand the dream, you know, right before they went to sleep? Did the parents read them a bedtime story? Mine did. What's the last thing they thought about before they went to sleep? Was it on the game box, shooting everybody up with war games? Or did their parents do like mine and say, hey, you're going to bed in about an hour, I want you to turn that stuff off, read a book or something, or come out here and, you know, watch something positive before you go to sleep at night? What dreams have they implanted upon their mind? Is it just a dream? That's the question. Is it just a dream? Or is it a dream born into reality? And what kind of seed did you plant in the mind to build that dream? Was it just a quick stop, you know? Was it a quick stop? Hey, stop for 5 minutes before you go to sleep? Or did I load all that stuff into the brain? That's what they're dreaming about. That's what their subconscious says. That's the dream. So Trump, he walks out in front of all of America, and I said to him in an email, I says, hey man, you think you'd just go out there and show America everything that's wrong with America? Just go out there, you know, nobody wants to say it. Just go out there and God will guide your steps and steer you clear. I was like, man, I can't believe that president is out there doing all that stuff. It's like, I didn't even believe that a president would listen to the people anymore. I'm like, man, everybody is sending all of this stuff in there, you know? And I'm like, you know, maybe if I send that guy enough emails, you know, by the time it gets to one of those presidents, somebody will do something, you know? And lo and behold, the whole time, people they got so many different dreams, you know, out there that are realities and so out of touch reality, you know? And then they got dreams that are actually building into something. And those presidents are like, man, it's like puzzle pieces. So they sat down at a table, or the round table, like the knights of the round table, man, at the United Nations, and said, man, we got so many problems. It's like, I do a puzzle piece, you do a puzzle piece, and if you could get a puzzle piece over there on the other side of the planet, then maybe somewhere in between we can build a bridge between our societies. And if you could do it that far away and we can launch something to the moon and back and all the way to Mars, then maybe these United States would figure something out that, man, it's a closer jump or a closer walk or a closer drive, you know, an adventure in time to go from state to state and around the world and back and across the universe, you know? So, if we could figure that out, you know, then maybe better dreams can be born into reality. I had a dream once. I wanted a family. I says, man, each time a new child is born, it's like, man, that's a new dream. So my family of families did. It says, man, each time we get another family member, it's like, man, there's a new dream. But what dream is that? Is it my dream? Is it their dream? Is it that guy across town? Is that his dream? That woman over there trying to be a lady, is that her dream? Is some knight in shining armor coming to rescue her and build her a dream? So many dreams and opportunities. Nobody understood what One America News meant. The good news. One America News. The good news. You know, the gift of understanding. You know, the good shepherds. They said, man, Donald Trump, he built all these things and some of the stuff was great and some of the stuff didn't work. But so what? Who cares about the stuff that didn't work? We care about the stuff that did. The stuff that did work, you know? And it's like One America News. He cared if that was a new news corporation? No, we already got CBS, CNN, Fox, and, you know, the Good Shepherd and all those news agencies. We don't need a One America News. It was the idea. One America News, that all those news corporations, ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, all those different news agencies, Jacksonville, Jacksonville, you know, Action News, you know, the Orlando Sentinel, Florida Today, USA Today, all those news agencies, One America News, one direction, one faith, one trust, one nation of nations, One America News, the hope and light of freedom to the world, One America, one nation of nations, for all nations. Everybody was worried about, hey man, you see that One America News? We already got all these other news corporations. I can't believe they got One America News, man. It's like, nobody cared if One America News made it or not. We wanted the idea out there, the way they could take that small piece of the puzzle and say, one. When you watch the news channel, you get negative and positive stuff, you know. We want it to be more positive, good news every day. That's what we want. One nation educators. You know, America, miracles every day. One America, news, the Good Shepherd, the good news. A nation of walking Christs everywhere. You look around, man, look where that guy over there is doing so great. Hey man, you see that business over there? It's doing so great. Hey, they're starting up a community outreach, man. It's doing so great. You see what those people are doing, man? And it's like, man, they're doing so great. I've never seen so many churches built everywhere. They got so many churches. It's like we did One America News and they didn't understand. We got CBS, NBC, you know. We even had America Online. Nobody understands. It's like, man, you go to all these businesses now. They're like, hey, apply online. Apply online. Hey, go apply online. I'm like, I don't want to apply online. Can I just talk to you? I'm standing in front of you, you know. But that's what they're telling everybody. Apply online. Because America is online so much. They forgot how to talk to each other. So I says, well, maybe they put some electronic tablets in there with some videos of people talking. Maybe by the time they say, oh man, hey, you know, they're so sick of that stuff, they want to talk to people, you know. I'm like, oh, real funny, guys. So anyways, it's like waking up out of your slumber, man. Like, what happened to the world? And everybody goes, well, everybody just got lost in technology. You know, I didn't think Mark Zuckerberg cared, you know. I'm like, I wrote a news article, man. I put it all over Facebook about Facebook. I put in a bunch of suggestions and I started seeing it change. You know, it's like, wow, that's amazing. You know, and I started asking, how can we make that better? I'm like, here's some more stuff. It's an amazing piece of software. Social media, man. Social news. You know why? It's the experiment. When I saw that news program years ago, that news guy, I don't know what his name was. I think it was Jon Stewart or somebody. And I thought it was great because the guy's name was Jon Stewart. And I'm like, is that like a steward of the church? Well, if he's talking about news, he's broadcasting, It's like a steward of the people, the news. He said that the great experiment failed. It was probably the most terrible day of my life when I saw that, It's like, hey, analog TV's going away and we're getting digital. Higher definition for understanding. But the higher definition for understanding, some people didn't get the understanding, and it's like, hey. And then the guys are like leaving, they're like, hey, man, the great experiment is failing. It's failed, I'm like, my dad, when I was growing up, said failure's not an option. And I remember a president who said, hey, if first you fail, then try again. And if you fail, then try again. And it's like, so everybody's trying all this stuff in the courthouse. I'm like, man, they didn't mean try again in the courthouse. They meant try to do something positive in the community so you can build something. A great experiment. That's what I mean about understanding. The great experiment. Do you think God Almighty, above throughout all space and time, would make mankind an experiment? You gotta be you gotta be out of your minds. It's not an experiment. It's a journey, an adventure. Everybody reads that Bible and they're like, hey, God so loved the world. People, not God. People wrote those books inspired by God. And if they messed up on the translation a little bit, so what? God so loved the world. In the same book it says, the devil, Satan, you know why they call that spirit Satan? It's like, can you say 10 commandments? Say 10. You're talking to the evil spirit. Say 10. I need you to say 10 commandments. And if you can't, then just say 2. Love God and your neighbor as yourself. They said they tempted him. Hey, I'll give you the entire world. Here you go. God so loved the world. God didn't love the world. He loved the people so much, He gave the entire planet to the people and said, you got dominion over all things. Because if it doesn't act like a person, then it's a thing until it learns to love God and their neighbor as themselves. Listen, man, what got into that guy? Well, I said it. 4 words. 4. Everybody says, man, maybe remind him about that. We'll all go play some golf. Trump said, didn't that the guy that said, there's 4 words, it's not enough? It is not enough. He says, well, if he doesn't wake up, we'll all make golf jokes. Like 4, You know what that is? They're going, hey man, I'm swinging this club. And it's a small golf ball, man. And it's got little, crater indentions on it, And I'm going to think like a scientist. If I hit this ball just right, even with all those indentions and break it down to the atmosphere on that golf ball, it's going to fly through this aerospace. Now, depending on the wind and the humidity in that air and where that golf course is located, it is going to get a different kind of effect on that golf ball while I'm playing that golf game. And they go, man, That's what golf is about. It says, what do you think those scientists do, man? They go around a golf course and it says, well, if it's really, really dry air, it's going to be a lot harder to maneuver this golf ball. How's the atmospheric conditions? I don't know, man. They got a lot of readings and electronics and stuff, but it's variable. Well, can you verify it with your own human eyes that God gave you? He says, hold on, let me get my golf stick. I got a golf ball, man. It's flying through the air like a meteorite. But it's talking about football, baseball. You know, growing up, I was talking to a guy, he's in communications over there at NASA. You know, his wife was a golf coach. You know, when I was a kid, I went out I saw that movie Navy SEALs, man. They got me a golf cart, man. I'm riding around like that Navy SEAL, man, with a golf club. Like golf cart, golf club, golfing. You know, one of my rich family friends. So I'm like, I go out to the golf course. I'm swinging this club, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm swinging the club." And that's not how you do it. This is how you do it. I swing the golf club, and it just hits it just right, and I can hear it through the air. You know, it's like something from the past and the future for the present. You know, I'm like, man, that's the way you hit a golf ball. Man, it sounds different. It moves different. Man, it's really moving. You know. He said, lost in translation. Science. So much. You know, they go, hey, what's the top gun, man? It's just, well, you know, Top Gun is, those top gifts. Understanding nations. Gifts. Understanding nations. It says, what do you mean? Did those people go and study geography? If they don't understand geography, how are they ever going to learn to talk to each other? Don't you know, if I talk here, the wind's blowing, the particles moving. Hey, you're standing downwind or upwind when you talk. It might be hard for me to hear. If I ain't got no particles out there, it's really dry in the desert. Hey, when I talk this loud, you can hear me over there because there's particles to vibrate for that voice to carry across this parking lot, you know? I'm in the desert and it's really hot, man. And there's nothing. It's like, man, those people ain't gonna drown in the desert, man. And at some point, they're so dehydrated they can't even cry or holler out for help, man. Ain't nobody gonna hear them. The voice don't travel that far, you know what I mean? Mars mission planning for the deserts and stuff. Mars mission planning, I got the Mars mission planning. It says, can I send them into a public school to learn mathematics? There you go, it's some mathematics. I send them in a public school. Hey, this is a seed. Put it in the dirt. Put some water and some fertilizer on it. Voila, I got crops growing. Okay, now go on that Mars mission. Hey, are you putting seeds in the ground and trying to water it and it's not growing? What kind of science did you learn before you went on this mission? Okay? People worry about who's doing what and where. Well, you know, Enterprise, Florida is like an aircraft carrier, man. Got shuttle stuff. A little restaurant, hey, you got food? We need to have food for this restaurant. Got space farming. I'm trying to rehab some of that desert, so it doesn't dry up the farms that are surrounding it, Hey, do you ever make like a lantern, You put this tiki torch, everybody, man. Everybody's having a barbecue. They don't even know it yet. It's like, hey, God's not barbecuing you. You're barbecuing yourselves. Didn't God say, hey, I'll give you dominion over all things? I hope you don't become a thing, with no brains, We got tiki torches. They're like, I got these mosquitoes, man. How about I going, man? How many times the Rock Johnson got to do like one of those jungle adventure movies, where he's walking through the jungle and he's like, oh man, I got mosquitoes. And the other guy's like, that guy, Kevin Hart, man. Kevin Hart's like the short guy. He's like, man, why would they put a short guy in there with the Rock Johnson? We're like, man, we made this stuff so at least it'd be kind of funny when they go, man. And growing up, I used to say, hey, what do you want first? You want the bad news or the good news? That's the way I used to tell people stuff, man. It's like, you watch the news, it's like, hey, can we get some bad news? And then we get a lot of good news. We get a bad news, we get a lot of good news. And eventually, all that good news washes the bad news away, They're like, man, what do you want first? You want the bad news or the good news? For example, the Rock Johnson, man, he's running through the jungle, man. He's like trying to save somebody, He got Kevin Hart, he's like, man, you see all these damn mosquitoes, man? Kevin Hart, man. Why would they have it Kevin Hart? Why would you name that guy Kevin Hart? He's like, man, the atmosphere is up there. You got this short guy out there in the desert, man. He's like, man, do you see all this dust out there? Kevin Hart's like, I'm down here, man. Kevin needs some help, man. Look, can you give me some kind of piggyback ride or something, And people are eating too much, and I'm in the desert. I'm down real low, man. It's like, all this dust, I can't breathe. The Rock looks down, he's like, man, okay, look, we're going to do that desert adventure, okay? We'll go to the jungle thing first, and then the desert adventure. Kevin Hart's like, man, I can't hear you, man. Hold on, I got to get a little closer. Nothing but particles out of here. All this dust is in my ears. And the Rock Johnson's like, what we go out this desert for without no training, man? He's like, what are you talking about? I got all kind of training, man. Didn't you see that Fast and Furious movie, man? We had all that stuff, man. Kevin's like, well, I ain't getting none of that stuff, man. He says, well, you're like the comic relief, man. He goes, you mean I make people laugh and smile? He says, yeah, we need that with the serious stuff. Together, better together kind of thing, I was like, oh, that's what the jungle movie was about, And Kevin Hart's like, man, I got these mosquitoes and stuff. And then, the Rock Johnson's like, well, we're running through this jungle, man, and we had this thing in a journey to the center of the earth. We had this other movie, with Jumanji. It was like a Robin Williams, do-over thing, and He's like, what is the mosquito about? By that time, Rock Johnson and Kevin Hart's like, you got to tell him about the mosquito. I was like, what do you mean? God already told him about the mosquito. And Kevin's like, God already told him about a mosquito. The Rock Johnson's like, look, man, I'm trying to get these people into a gym to get these boys and girls into shape. And Kevin's like, man, is that what you're talking about? I was told to do this funny movie, man, for everybody to get in shape because we're about to launch a mission. The Rock's like, yeah, man, like that. And then Kevin's like, man, then what is the mosquito for? And then, Rock Johnson's like, well, you got to ask the ministers. It's like, man, does that mean you're trying to get people to go to church? He says, yeah, man. So it's like, the mosquito. The mosquito, God made a mosquito. Why do you think when you go to a barbecue, they call it mesquite barbecue? You got a mosquito, man, sucking the life out. Don't be a mosquito. They're like, man, what is a mosquito? I says, well, we got places. You got atmosphere and particles and trees and stuff. Hey, if I go over to the desert and there's nothing there, it's like a mosquito. It's like Kevin Hart standing on the bottom of a desert, man, going, look, man, I can't breathe. I need atmosphere, And it's like, down comes the atmosphere. Then I got it sweeping across the desert. Everybody like, man, over the summer, man, that crazy white guy, man, he's talking about an operation clean sweep. And it's like, yeah, man, the mosquitoes, And It's like if Jesus could turn the world upside down, he'd be like, man, you mean there's a forest over there, you know, with an atmosphere, and then there's a desert with nothing. And the desert is so thirsty, it's like, man, give me that, you know. We made a movie about it, man. It says, man, the black people don't understand, the white people don't understand, the Indian people don't understand, and those Chinese people trying to make technology to help people understand. And then we got, like, you know, South America's rainforest going. We got all these weird plants, you know, we're trying to experiment with, like Swamp Thing, man. Remember that movie, that crazy scientist trying to throw that stuff out in the desert, you know? And I go, man, how am I going to make the complex simple enough for people to understand? They're like, man, did you try the mosquito? It's like, well, we named it Mesquite. You know, Mesquite barbecue. You know, eventually they go, oh, mosquito, you know, mosquito, you know? You know, it's like, oh, mosquito, yeah, you know. I got a forest with, you know, saying, run, forest. I need the forest to run out to the desert and plant themselves. It's like, man. And then somebody goes, but the trees can't run out to the forest and plant themselves. He said, did you see that tumbleweed stuff? Man, for years they had like tumbleweeds through the desert, man. And the earth's like, man, that didn't work, man. It started growing cactuses, you know, with needles and stuff. It's like God saying, hey, can you tell those angels and human beings, you know, to stop doing so much drugs? Man, don't they know? You know, sometimes they do too much drugs, it fries their brains, and they don't even understand the earth anymore. It's like, hey, I got cactuses out there in the desert with needles saying, look, you know, this is your brain on drugs.